So we probably won't
It's
go all,
recording.
yeah,
It's recording.
okay, okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Hello,
Yes, we can hear.
Joe.
Okay, sorry, couldn't tell.
So I call this meeting to order at 6:52. Notice is hereby given that the City of Sandy Oaks Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a meeting on Thursday, April 1st, 2021 at 6:30 PM by telephonic and video conferencing, which will be live streamed and accessible to the public for the purpose of considering the agenda items as provided below. In accordance with the Office of the Governor issued March 16th, 2020, and in an effort to advance the public health goal of limiting face-to-face interactions to slow the spread of the coronavirus, the commission will meet by and provide live stream video and/or telephonic access of the meeting to the public. The public may participate in this meeting by using the link provided. The public will be permitted to offer public comments telephonically or audio as provided below and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting by signing up with the chair at least 2 hours in advance of the meeting by emailing the commissioner, the chair. A recording of the telephonic meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Texas Public Information Act upon written request. So call to order and quorum call. Mickey, can you do that or?
I can, hold on just 1 second. Okay. Commissioner Hadley,
Yes, ma'am.
present.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Bradshaw,
Present.
Commissioner, oh, I gotta get back over my list, y'all, hold on a moment. Commissioner, bear with me here while I get back over to my meeting controls.
Thomasini and Portman, just to help you.
Oh, good, okay, Commissioner Portman
Present.
and Commissioner Thomasini is absent. We also have the mayor and the city attorney, Ms. Ortiz, on the line. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll move to agenda item number 2, citizens to be heard. Do I need to read all of it?
If you have any citizens,
I don't.
okay, then
I
you
didn't
can move
receive
on.
any. Okay. Agenda item number 3, workshop to discuss proposed comprehensive zoning ordinance for the city of Sandy Oaks and or take possible action on the zoned comprehensive zoning ordinance. So where are we at?
Okay,
Wait, Chair, just a question with Commissioner Orduna or the secretary not here. Who's taking minutes? Or I can take minutes, but I take very short. I take very just on action, really.
well, and just so you know, yeah, that would be helpful, but also we record this and I post it for on the city website.
Okay, and we can also use the draft that we're working on to incorporate into the minutes, just
Okay,
so we know someone is taking minutes.
Okay, so wait, do I need to take minutes? What do we, how do we go about doing that?
Since you're presiding, someone else should probably take the minutes. So if you want to if someone wants to volunteer, I can volunteer also to take the minutes. I guess but I usually just take minutes on action and quorum, and then we can incorporate the draft as item 3, if that would work.
That sounds good. Perfect. Oh, Mickey, can I talk about this real quick? I guess it's about the commission. Oh yeah, the commissioner.
vacancy?
Huh?
No, no, I don't know. What is it you're trying to say?
Consultant.
Oh, the consultant. I have no update on that yet. It's
Okay.
not until April 9th. It closes on the 9th.
Oh, I thought it closed on the 1st for some reason. Okay.
No.
Anyway. Okay, good deal. So expansion of non-conforming. Let me see. Okay. Where did we leave off? The number one?
It says we ended on this item, but I don't recall if I don't have any additional comments on any of the items under section E.
Roll back to the top of section E, please.
Further, I think we tabled all this, didn't we?
Well,
Yeah, reserved for discussion with consultant. Because we didn't understand it. We didn't understand like what, you know.
okay.
Well, I don't know. Y'all remember. I think you remember anyway. So a non-conforming use located within a building may be extended throughout the existing building, provided that. I'm assuming, is this? No, I don't think we've gotten this far, E, right? Expansion of non-conforming uses in building.
We were in this section when we quit.
I mean, I would think it would be along the same lines. Let me look at.
I do recall conversation about the expansion of non-conforming, and we talked about. Yeah, I remember going through 1A.
I don't, let me see if, hang on a second.
I mean, to be completely honest, I would probably wait to do,
You want to save that entire section?
yeah, because that's a lot of, it kind of overlaps, doesn't it? I mean, like the,
It overlaps with the part up here where we talked about changing non-conforming uses, and we decided to reserve that for discussion.
yeah,
with consultant.
Expansion is just a change, but I think they're talking about changing from one to the other, and then the other one deals with making a change, but it's the same use, but it gets bigger. Okay. And I didn't have a problem with any of the language with 1, 2, 3, or 4. Let's see, 5.
I think, but because it goes with that whole section, I would probably, my personal opinion would be to wait, kind of group it together and we go on to section
That's
8.
fine. That's fine. That's
All right.
fine.
Let me make a notation here then.
Looks like you have a comment already on the E line.
Oh, what did it do there?
Control Z, baby.
I went too far down. Hold on. Right. Here we go. Jeez Louise.
See, yeah, you already had one on that line, so.
Yeah, I'm not the smartest.
No, you don't want to do that. Try Control Z. Undo. One more time. There you go.
I wanted to insert a comment here, but you know what? I know what it's doing. It's because there's already a comment.
You can edit the existing one to add something to it.
I can?
Oh, you should be able to.
Right click, yeah.
Yeah, right click.
I did right click.
Reply to comment maybe? Or,
That's what I thought I did. Okay.
So go ahead and put some additional thoughts there, blah, blah, blah. And we'll know what you mean.
have y'all thought about using, just kind of off subject, but pertaining to this, have y'all thought about using Google Docs? Maybe,
No, of course not.
Or something like Dropbox that keeps versioning.
I like Google Drive or Google Docs. It just, you can always go back and see the changes made.
All right. So restoration. Okay. So now we're moving on to section F. Or do you want all of the non-conforming to be?
I would think we just go down to section 8
Okay.
and then
let me-
section 9.
Let me edit this then. Ah,
Control Z and do it over. You'll be able to just typing right there.
yeah, I am. Hold on a moment. Moving on to what section?
To section 8, even though there's nothing there. So either it's section 8, section 9.
Okay. All right, here we go. Let's go down here.
I'm not sure what the paragraph is under section 9. That must have been the copy and mistake or copy and paste error. Because it's the same as section 8, that those are existing ordinances that just need to be incorporated into the final one. So maybe just a note on that A.
Current ordinance and amend current ordinance. And then the Board of Adjustment, yeah, we've already taken care of that. That's the council, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, those are already adopted ordinances.
Okay. So those are just notes to yourself to insert language there.
Yeah, for the future, I guess the final ordinance, but also that section A under 9, that just looks like some copy and paste mistake. So that
This part.
I put a note to myself that I need to see where that is supposed to go.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then moving on to section 10.
Dad, is it okay to play with those boxes?
What box?
Amazon boxes.
Oh, yeah. Don't be happy.
Okay, declaration of policy and review criteria. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know if you were doing something else. The city declares the enactment of these regulations governing the use and development of land, buildings, and structures as a measure necessary to the orderly development of the community. Therefore, no change shall be made. These regulations are in the boundaries of the zoning districts, except
Ooh, that number 3 looks deep.
solid line or manner of conducting business. Yep, it sure does. You want to put that as a, can we get a little bit of clarification on that, or what it affect? and all that?
This, yeah, that right there.
Ms. Ortiz, where was
Step away
this,
1 second.
where was this like taken from? Do we know? Like, is it just a standard or?
Yeah, it was taken mostly from just another city that was doing its zoning ordinance for the first time.
Gotcha.
I want to say the city of Brady is where this one is, where a lot of the draft came from. And I guess that section 3 would be style of living, such as going from mostly residential or kind of single family housing to maybe more commercial or more multifamily would warrant a change in the zoning ordinance or a zoning change. So understanding that that Sandy Oaks is tweaking and changing it specific to Sandy Oaks, it's y'all's amend away.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would definitely. So the problem with that is like the interpretation when, someone interprets it one way and then somebody else interprets it another. So maybe, yeah, I would definitely ask the consultant.
That's a very wide open statement.
Yes, it is.
Do we want to?
I would ask about it. I don't know. I don't even know. That's a lot. And that's a loaded.
It is a loaded, yeah. All right.
I think the other ones look fine to me. I don't know about anybody else. I think everybody's muted except Ken and I. Any thoughts, anybody? I mean, are we good? Keep going?
I don't have any questions or comments on the remainder of this particular section.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. The amount of vacant land currently classified for similar development in the vicinity and elsewhere. Wait, go up one more, Mickey. Did I read that one? Okay, in making a determination regarding a requested zoning change, the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council shall consider the following factors: whether the use is permitted by the proposed change will be appropriate in the immediate area concerned, to the general city or area and the city as a whole, whether the proposed change is in accord with any existing or proposed plans for providing public school streets, water supply. I personally think that's fine. And then let's see, number 3. The amount of vacant land currently classified for similar development in the vicinity and elsewhere in the city, and any special circumstances which may make a substantial part of such vacant land unavailable for development. What the heck does that mean?
Exactly.
That
So
means
this
it's
is-
flood
this
zone?
is- It's regarding a requested zoning change. So this is all around zoning changes.
Okay, let's see. Like maybe, let's see.
I think number 3 is referring to someone that would want to come in and that request a zoning change from a residential lot to
Commercial.
no, not necessarily commercial, depending on what kind of a broad interpretation we are going to make as to what is and is not commercial.
Gotcha.
But, you know, they're saying any special circumstances which may make a substantial part of such vacant land unavailable for development. It would be like
Multifamily.
the place down there on Lamb Road that sells mulch and everything. If they wanted to come up and put a mulch pile on a vacant lot, you know, it wouldn't be available, you know, for development after they did that, if the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council agreed to, you know, to change the zoning on it from residential to commercial. I mean, that's kind of the way I'm interpreting it. You know, these kind of things, you have to be, you have to make them tight so that people can't find a loophole and come in and do something. But at the same time, you don't want them so restrictive that it makes it impossible for the city to, you know, to mature and grow.
I agree.
Well, and I think it may also have to do with other situations that that would prevent the land from being used in any particular fashion. So if it's not that we hopefully would have that here, but let's say that we had a sinkhole that at one point in time there was an underground salt storage. This is a wild example.
Yeah.
Probably could not utilize that land for development because it wouldn't be sustainable. It would be a hazard, or it could be a severe flooding area that, you know, potentially would create, I mean, I don't believe we have any flood zones out here, but just items like that.
No, that makes sense. Okay, sounds good. The recent rate at, well, let's put it on there maybe for further explanation.
For which one, number 3 or number 4?
Number 3, just to clarify, even though I think that's exactly what he's saying, but do we want to stick with that? Do we want to, you know?
Oh, geez.
Well, if something's unclear, everybody has to be able to tell somebody that asked the same information. So, it would help if we all know what it means.
Yeah, that's why I got Mickey to put, can you say it right there for future discussion with consultant?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, yeah, because I think I agree with you. Okay, so the recent rate at which land is being developed in the same zoning classification as the request, particularly in the vicinity of the proposed change.
So these are all considerations in making a determination on a planning and zoning change. Okay.
These would really encompass land that the city annexed, would it not? Because the city itself is already pre-zoned for commercial and pre-zoned or predetermined residential. And according to the original, I don't remember the legal term that they use, the codicils, I guess, to the each of the individual lots, that, we have to abide by those for a certain period of time before we can make changes on them. Isn't this more like for undeveloped raw land that the city would annex?
Ken, I would propose it from the perspective, and I always like to go back to the Priest Road corridor, because in the master plan, it is currently zoned residential, but in the plan, it was determined that they could be commercial and it could be mixed use. So the first, I think it's 200 feet from frontage, could be commercial, and they could utilize the remainder part of their land for residential. That's kind of how I'm reading that particular item to pertain to.
Well, I was thinking more about the land at the end of Waterwood Pass that has been tossed about as being a housing community, and possibly somebody else would want to buy it and put a grocery store on it. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just thinking that, if the city were to annex that land prior to any development, we'd have to decide, do we want to allow it to be commercial, or do we want to allow it to be mixed use, or whatever. And I'm just wondering if that's not what number 3 is referring to. It says the amount of vacant land currently classified for similar development in the vicinity and elsewhere in the city, and any special circumstance which may make a substantial part of such vacant land unavailable for development. I'm just wondering if that's not addressing, raw land that the city might decide they want to, excuse me, go ahead and take in.
I think it could be for that as well.
Yeah,
because
that makes sense.
yeah, because we're pretty much, all the land here is designated for its use already. So it would certainly pertain to any additional property that may be brought in.
So do you want section 4 or the rest of these, or what are you thinking, Ken?
Well, the recent rate at which land is being developed in the same zoning classification as the request, I think that probably 3 and 4, probably should be expanded on, and someone with city development and some legal training and so forth should probably clarify those for us with regard to, what we can and can't do with land that might come into the city at some future point in time.
Yeah.
And, nobody knows what the future is gonna do.
I agree. I
This
agree with
is, this is really kind of above me in terms of things that I have done in banking and in real estate and so forth. I'm kind of at a loss, and that's unusual for me. I'm usually not at a loss.
Okay, we'll put it aside for discussion with the consultant then.
I agree.
Okay.
As far as 4, that is kind of talking about when a request comes before the commission to consider, and even the council to consider a zoning change request. If there have been, and say it's for a commercial development, if there have been multiple commercial development proposals coming before the city that have been approved, it may be the zoning commission can consider that domino effect and of having multiple properties zoned commercial, because that may be what's trending. So that is kind of what they're trying to explain, or those are what those sections are kind of trying to explain, is that is something the commission can consider when they are looking at a zoning request. Is this getting to be too many commercial, too many retail, too many multifamily or residential, when that was not the intent of the plan or the zoning ordinance in the first place. And then number 3, I probably does need to be clarified. Sometimes these things make a lot of sense to me when I'm writing them, and then when I look back, it needs some clarification. It could be because there are deed restrictions in place. If a zoning ordinance or if a zoning request is requesting a particular development, but the deed restriction prohibits that, the owner is locked in developing that particular property because they can't develop it the way the deed restrictions say, and they can't develop it the way the city is saying it can be developed. So it may be to prevent unfair takings. Those are often, or those are litigated where a city zones a particular property that doesn't conform with the deed restriction, and then the owner comes back and says, I can't do anything with my property because you zone me differently than what the deed restrictions say. So that probably does need to be clarified, but that would be something the zoning commission and council can consider.
Just
So,
I have a question. If a landowner comes to the city and requests a zoning reclassification on a parcel of land, and no one is aware of a deed restriction that is on the original property when it was sold, and the request is granted, with no one really knowing that there's a deed restriction on there that would prohibit that particular kind of a development, what kind of liability does the city incur in doing something like that? Or the P&Z commission, do they incur any kind of liabilities for agreeing to the change that is not, that is not allowed by the deed restriction?
So because a city really has no authority or jurisdiction over a deed restriction, there should not be liability if the city violates or makes a zoning change which violates the deed restriction. That is a private matter. However, that's not to say that landowners will sue the city for eminent domain or a wrongful taking of the property. But whether the city can get around that and defend it, it's usually defensible in that the city can, or the owner can develop their property in some way, just not either the way they requested or not, that doesn't conform with the deed restrictions. Sometimes that is an argument to that.
Okay. is it possible that any of the P and Z commissioners would be held liable for their vote on the requested property zoning change? Would they, could they be held individually liable? Or would it be something that would be more likely to just go after the city as a whole?
So I can't say what a court or a judge or a jury would do and what they would find liable. However, there are defenses where you're acting in your official capacity as a zoning commissioner and you are not personally liable, or you have that authority to make that change, and the city has the authority to make a change, and that's in the police powers of the city and that's a zoning power of the city to make that change. So it is certainly something that is defensible. But saying, are you absolutely clear? That's something I can't really say or wouldn't be able to say, not knowing, what a jury or a judge or a court would just say overall. But typically it's not something that you did something in your authority as a zoning commissioner and you had a right to do that. And it's not something typical that a plaintiff would be successful in.
Well, you know how the society is now. People sue each other on the drop of a hat. And I was just curious.
I don't see it a lot. I actually have not seen like a zoning or planning and zoning commissioner be sued. It really may be the city if an owner feels that they can't develop on their property because the city took some action. But like I said earlier, if there is something a property owner can do, just not necessarily what they wanted to do, that is usually a defense for the city, or can be.
Okay.
Well, Ms. Ortiz is correct. Anyone can raise a tort for anything. The guiding principle would be, was in order for them to accrue anything of value from the lawsuit, they would have to have a preponderance of evidence that the planning commission acted in bad faith. From what I understand, whenever you try to sue an organization that's tasked with creating rules for zoning, I don't know where I get this from, but I'm pretty sure that you have to show that the P and Z commissioners acted in bad faith or colluded in some fashion to prevail in the lawsuit, or to win anything of monetary value in the lawsuit. Ms. Ortiz is absolutely correct in that if the land is not, I guess it's the degree of encumberment determines whether or not there would be any viable lawsuit. Starting to sound like I lost my mind, but I think maybe I did.
No.
Well, my mind wanders off into, the what if scenarios because I have been involved in so many lawsuits over the years, in banking and in not so much in real estate, but I was more concerned with with the possibility of incurring a lawsuit for against the city or against the zoning commission as a group or individually if they made a decision that was contrary to the zoning or deed restrictions. That's really more of what I was going at, rather than somebody colluding to not allow a property owner to to develop his property in such a way that might make him a gazillion dollars, but nobody else would be able to participate in the the money.
And in point of fact, we're basically a paper tiger. The P and Z Commission actually has zero authority to enforce anything. That's up to the city council, if that's my understanding.
Well,
Is that,
in my dealings with attorneys over the years, there's, there's a line of succession that the more people they get involved in a lawsuit, the better the chance of some kind of recovery for their client.
I had a good friend who was a
No
lawyer.
offense, Ms. Ortiz, but that's been the kind of the scenarios that I have been involved in and played out with. And of course, working in a bank is, you have a target on your back, 24/7, because you're taking away someone's money or their
Oh.
their home.
They
or
sue you
their-
if you give them the loan, they sue you if you don't give them the loan.
well, so let's, let's go ahead and go forward. Those are really good. I like the discussion. But I think maybe how the other areas, and that's good stuff. I don't know, Mickey, can we put that in there for, I don't know. I don't know if the consultant's gonna be another attorney or what they're doing,
Yeah.
but maybe just put like a note in there.
On which one? Number 5?
No, number 4 or number 4. I would say
Okay.
just like what Ken was saying, maybe likelihood of being sued or
Well,
what
just the
legal
likelihood
ramifications.
of litigation,
Yeah.
for making a change against the deed restrictions.
Yeah,
Well, you might actually incur something if you don't do your due diligence, because those deed restrictions are public record.
yeah. But we can just put it in there. Just, I'm sure you guys will remember that whenever we come to it. Because we should have them within the next month or so, I would think, right, Mickey?
I will hope so. Certainly,
Okay.
hopefully by our next meeting, at least we'll have some candidates to talk to.
Okay. Let's see how other areas designated for similar development will be or unlikely to be affected if the proposed amendment is approved, and any other factors which will substantially affect the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. I mean, I guess that kind of all goes together.
Yeah, just another consideration when you're considering a change.
Yeah. I mean, I would, they'll have to probably, it's kind of all gonna go together, I guess, when we talk about it, is kind of what I meant. So the authority to amend or not ordinance. And after public hearings, required by law, amend, supplement, or change the regulations herein provided or the boundaries of the zoning district specified in the zoning district boundary.
This section may be something the city council has to decide on, because I think it really pertains to them.
District boundary line or special zoning regulation may be initiated only by the property owner. Consideration for a change in any district boundary line.
I read that to state that either the council may initiate action or planning and zoning may initiate it to hand off to council for to amend any ordinance or supplement or change the regulations. I just see that as very standard language.
Consider for a change in any district boundary line or special zoning regulation may be initiated. Consideration for a change in any district boundary line or special zoning regulation may be initiated only by the property owner on his or may be submitted. Okay. I think that's good.
Agreed.
Looks like it's all kind of standard. Or good anyway. I mean, I don't,
So Ken, I think this section D may pertain to your comments earlier about what if deed restrictions exist, but we didn't have them, or they weren't produced, or they were somehow in conflict. This is kind of giving the requirements for submitting an application for a change and what would be required. So it says the application shall be deemed complete when the city issues a receipt for the application fee.
This is something that's outlined in or by the city administrator, city manager, I guess. As far as the information that it's referring to, plans, maps, exhibits, et cetera, et cetera. So the city manager would come up with what
No.
was required for the P and Z commission to even consider a proposed change in property. Is that not, am I reading that correctly?
I'm
Isn't it
reading it
P&Z?
that an individual who wants to propose a change
yeah.
this is the requirements for them.
They send an application with the fee. It goes under review, that sort of thing. Yes, is that? Yep.
I see what you're saying with the city administrator, where it talks about the application will blah, 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 as deemed necessary by the city administrator or his designee. So the request will be reviewed before it is finally accepted.
Gotcha.
That's kind of what I read in that.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, resigning question. Zoning, rezoning requests involving real property, the zoning. Planning and zoning shall hold at least one public. So if somebody wants to come in and change their zoning and we hold a public hearing to see if what everyone thinks, I'm assuming, is that what this is?
Yeah, from what I understand, if somebody wants to change, the properties that are within 200 feet of
Yeah.
the property in question, they get notice that there will be a public hearing and they can offer commentary at that time. Is that correct, Ms. Ortiz?
Yeah, that looks like it.
Yeah, it says down here,
Yeah.
200 feet.
The,
Okay.
the 200 feet, the properties within 200 feet get the actual notice, but anybody can offer comment or testify as to why or why not they support any change or.
Okay. In the end, how does that work? So we have a public hearing on a request, and let's say that every one of the property owners that are within the 200 feet and a handful of property owners that are on the other side of town come to the meeting. The ones within 200 feet have one position and the others have a different position. How is it determined? Does any vote carry more weight?
No, that is really up to the Planning and Zoning Commission to evaluate the application and all the positions and go back to those factors that they consider in making either approving or recommending a denial on the request, and then City Council. So really, it's really each side's position in combination with the factors that are determined or that are set in the ordinance of what should be considered. So a lot of times it gets political, and a lot of times it's good for the city, and it's bad for the city, and that's really the kind of the opinion of the Planning and Zoning Commission, ultimately the council.
Perfect, thank you.
Purpose, time, place. So it just goes into more depth there on how to do it. Or what needs to be done anyway. And
Yeah,
so,
the procedures and timelines, yes.
yeah, the city may at its option establish additional rules and procedures for public notifications. Okay. It's with section 8 of this ordinance. Wait. Shall function in accordance with section 8 of this ordinance. Okay, wait. There was
Hold on.
nothing under 8.
No, well, because that is the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have an ordinance already in place.
Oh, we're just putting it in there?
Yes.
Or like
So the
CBN.
language will go in here.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
All right, where were we? Here we were.
Right there, A.
Okay.
Shall function. Section, okay, that's good. The commission shall hold a public hearing. Planning and Zoning Commission consideration and recommendation. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I mean, I think that makes sense to me. Anybody else? I'm assuming that's all standard. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
that's what it looks like, yeah.
Okay.
What does this mean, Cassandra?
Nice.
I dictated this, so it may not have caught that disapproval request.
Does it need to be changed to
It
something?
needs to be changed. And also, disapproval request. Yeah, I will look at what that's supposed to say.
I wonder if it's just supposed to say the.
Or with.
That's, maybe it's comma, the commission's recommendation is to approve the request.
Okay, I'm gonna make a notation that,
Maybe with the commission's recommendation.
Or if the, it could be if.
Yeah.
I noticed up in subsection B, there's a random period, and that is supposed to be the word period. But it came out as a,
where is that at?
it's like the second to last line of subsection B after time, commission elects, or second to last sentence, I'm sorry.
Right
It says
here?
time period of, that should be the actual word period.
Oh, right here. Go over, Mickey, right there.
This?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All righty.
I would say we stop after this.
I think we're getting, how much further we got here? We're almost done. We got
Well-
one page and a paragraph.
Then let's do that.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're on this section here, section C.
So what, yeah, let's see. So I guess we need, yeah, notate that little thingy. Ms. Ortiz, do we need a section, is that blank for a reason?
That, that is blank, depending on what the final sections numbers would be. That is currently as it is, that's probably referencing the subsection E.
I meant the one, the city council consideration.
Oh, I'm sorry. That should just be the next section. No, those accidentally blinked.
And what section would that be?
Well,
12, I think, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, I may have just realized sections may be moved around and stop labeling sections. So I don't remember if the next drafts have actual section numbers.
Okay. Every application.
okay, so this section here is interesting. It's defining the amount of time before they could reapply.
Okay. Denies request and then no, there's only. So if they deny it, so if city council denies request, then no other zoning application may be filed for the same or a similar request for any part of the subject tract of land or for that portion of the zoning ordinance in the case of a text amendment for 90 days. Okay, cool. Let's see. Then there is no waiting before the request can be reconsidered. Okay, so wait the 90-day. Hearing a notice. City council public hearing for zoning, rezoning for.
So Ken, again, I think this section 3 goes back to what you referenced earlier about not knowing everything, not having all the documents. So if
Right.
somebody came
I
back with
agree.
additional information, that we could waive that.
Number 4, it's just something simple, but we don't have an official newspaper.
We haven't, well, we do. It's the official newspaper of record, which is Wilson County News.
Like that's Sandy City, even though we're not Wilson County.
Exactly. So the city, by statute, has to adopt a newspaper of record every
Gotcha.
year, and Wilson County News is ours.
Cool.
So section 5 is, that means it's not a simple majority that would have to approve that. And Ms. Ortiz, is this section, this item 5 here, is this pretty standard language?
yes, most of this is standard or it complies with state law. The 90-day period in section 2 is that can be changed, but you do see some sort of waiting period before before another zoning change for a specific property comes before the commission or council again. So some do a year or 6 months. That's up to the city.
Okay. So it was this section here, the 3/4 vote. Okay. Let's see if you can see all.
I mean, I want to say that that makes sense, but I mean, unless you guys, the 3/4 vote, I'm assuming that's what she was referring to, that that's all
Yeah, so 4 of 5. Normally, we have a majority vote, 3 of 5 will pass an ordinance or an action.
Mhm.
But in some cases, we have to have the 3/4, which would require 4 of the 5 to vote affirmative or against.
Gotcha. Okay, final approval and ordinance adopted before approval of the zoning request from the city.
So,
Sounds good to me.
yeah, number 6 makes total sense.
Yep.
And that's it, folks.
Cool. Well,
Okay, so I'm going to save this document. I'm gonna stop sharing.
and then send it to us
I
again.
will save it and send it back out to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
No worries. And then by next Friday, not tomorrow, but the following Friday, we should have, well, I'm sorry, continue with your agenda.
Okay, so let's see. Agenda item number 4, discussion and possible action on scheduling the next meeting and or public hearings of the commission. So our regular meeting is on the 15th, everybody. Can you guys put that in your calendar, please? And make sure it's a regular meeting. And then I propose, I don't know if you guys want to, but April 29th, 6:30.
That's fine.
Do I need to do a motion and all that?
Yes.
Okay, actually, can we just make it a permanent every 2 weeks? Can we do that right now?
I thought at the last meeting, the action was to make it to add every first Thursday of the month
That's what I
until
thought.
it was not needed.
Okay, that's what I think I remember that. I don't,
So instead of the 29th, it would be whatever that first, so the third Thursday in April is y'all's regular meeting, and the first Thursday in May would be the next one after that. Does that sound right? That's what I thought I remembered.
I mean, it would, but let's see. Yeah, we would be back on track. When is city council meeting for May, the 13th?
Oh,
The 13th.
City council meeting for April would be the 22nd, right? It's a week after P and Z,
Correct.
right? Okay. I just want to make sure it doesn't fall on, okay, so then, yeah, then we are, so every 2 weeks roughly, or what is it, the first Thursday, the first and third Thursday, typically. I mean, like this, April is a little wonky, but the other ones, okay, so can you guys put reminders on your phone? Is it legal? Can I ask that?
I mean, the meetings are set, and we'll just set the agenda, or we'll send the agenda out when
Okay,
it's posted to everyone.
okay, sounds good. So 6:30. Good deal. Well, then, agenda item number 5, we adjourn this meeting at 7:51.
Here, here.